And good morning, everybody, and welcome to our next virtual field trip. My name's Chris. I am in charge here at the Gristmill Gardens, and today we're outside in some spectacular weather. Today, for our field trip, we are going to be showing you how to catch bugs in your yard or in a nearby park, wherever it's safe for you to do this, how to catch bugs safely and taking good care of them so that you can release them later. So I'm going to show you 3 different methods to do this. Now, of course, here in the gristmill, with all of our gardens, with our orchards, with the creek, all the different spaces that we have here, we have no shortage of insects flying around and scurrying around all the time. In fact, there have been a few times in the last few years when we've actually had researchers come out to our site specifically just to identify the kinds of insects that we have that seem unique to the place. There are species of bee, for example, that they couldn't find anywhere else here in the Similkameen Valley, but they found right here on this piece of property because we've got all these little nooks and crannies and interesting things for people, right? Interesting places for these bugs to be. So today we're going to talk about 3 different ways to catch bugs. Now, before I go any further, I need to explain that the word bug doesn't mean quite what you think it means. A bug is a kind of insect. There's very specific rules on what makes something a bug versus something else. But really, what we're dealing with today aren't bugs. What we're going to deal with today are all different kinds of insects. But generally, little ones. We're caring about the little ones today. So, the first thing that we're going to show you, good morning and welcome. The first one that we're going to show you this morning is in some ways the easiest, and it involves nothing more than an umbrella. Having a light colored umbrella makes all the difference in the world because then you can see the insects that you catch, but this is a great way to catch insects quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this umbrella, we're going to risk tempting the weather fates, and we're going to open it up. We're going to take it over to one of our bushes or one of our trees, and I'm going to hold it upside down and open like a big cup. And I'm going to shake a branch into our umbrella. Now, I have no idea if there's anything living where I'm about to shake. You may have to do this a few times when you do it yourself. But you're going to give it a shot, and let's see what we can find. So let's take this umbrella, we'll open it up. All right. There. Now I have a beautiful umbrella for myself. Let's go find some place to do some shaking, shall we? So what I'm thinking is that we are actually going to go back to our apple tree over here. Look at all those beautiful blooms. We're going to go back to that tree, and we're going to get this umbrella underneath a branch, and we're going to shake it. Now this is the easiest way to catch a bunch of insects all at once. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it down on the ground, like so, underneath this branch. And I'm going to apologize to any bees that are currently doing their work right now, but I'm going to give this a really good shake. And I don't actually see anything, but let's take a closer look. Let's take a look, see if we found anything. I mean, that came out, but that's just a piece of tree. I don't see anything in here yet. We might have to find another spot to do our shaking, but that's okay. Here, before we do that though, I want to show you just how beautiful this apple tree in bloom is right now. Some of you might know me personally, and yesterday I posted a photo of a cluster of apple blossoms. And I just want to mention quickly that the center one here is the king bloom. And when it'll bloom first, and if it gets pollinated, it makes the biggest fruit. But you've got all these other little flowers there as backups. But when the king blooms start to open on a tree, you know that the things are about to happen fast and furious. Here's a good example where the king bloom has opened right here, but not the others. Okay, but we're here talking about insects. So let's find another spot, shall we? Let's take our umbrella. Where can we go? There's lots of spots. Let's go closer to the creek. We'll go We'll go this way. Let's show you the direction. We'll go over here because I'm sure there's lots of stuff hiding in the shade in some of those bushes. So let's go take a little look. It's a pretty umbrella, isn't it? I like it. So, yeah, we'll go into the shade here, over by our creek. There. And let's see what we find this time, if anything. If not, that's okay. We just keep trying. So, we got a branch, we have our umbrella, and we're going to shake the dickens out of it. Okay, let's take this into the sunlight and see what we find. Let's see. Okay. There's lots of little bits and pieces. We are still kind of early in the season. I don't see anything crawling or moving. No spiders, nothing yet. That said, this is, without a doubt, the easiest way to catch insects. Just a nice umbrella under a branch or a bush or something that you shake. So that's number one. Now, number two way we actually set up last night so that we made sure that we could catch something for you. So what we did is we went into one of our garden beds and we buried a jar. We buried a jar right up with the ground level. We put some rocks around the outside of the jar and a big flat thing on top of that. The idea being that it's a dark space underneath and lots of things will want to crawl under there, and we'll end up going to the edge of the jar and falling in. And because it's a glass jar, they're not going to be able to get back out. Now, we don't want to leave it there for too long because we're not here to make any insects suffer. We just want to catch them to look at them. So let me show you what that looks like here. So I just found an old sign that I decided to use. And underneath it, we've got our rocks and we have a jar buried. Now, I wonder if we caught anything yet. Oh, there's a beetle just scurried away under this rock. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little ant right there. Yeah, he's a little and tiny, hard to see him. But let's pull our jar out. Now, if I was smart, I would have, of course, made a point of making sure it was stocked with something. But I do actually see something interesting in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back over to my table. You never know what you're going to catch. I mean, you could catch things that aren't even insects. You could catch things like snails or slugs if you live down on the coast. Here, we don't tend to have a lot of those. You could catch lots of wood bugs, which also are actually not what you think they are. Wood bugs are related to crabs and lobsters. They're actually crustaceans that happen to live on the land. So what I've got is I have a nice light piece of paper. This will make it easy when I dump this out to be able to see what we've got inside. So let's take a little, just going to jam that out. Now, take a look at this. I found two things. The first thing I found, see if we can get it in focus, is right here we have an ant. Now there's a bunch of ants living in the in that particular garden bed, so I'm not surprised that I found an ant. But the other thing that I found is, amazingly enough, right here we have a tiny baby earthworm. Just a little tiny baby earthworm. I mean, there's my pinky nail in comparison. But somehow it got up and over the edge and ended up inside. And look what else we've got. A small beetle. Now, I'll admit I'm not an expert on every kind of beetle, but that is definitely a beetle. Nice and black. And so there we go. So 3 things we found. We found this ant right here. We found a little tiny baby worm. Where are you? Yeah, you can't really see it very well, but there it is right there. And that is a baby earthworm. And you found a beetle. So, not too shabby. Now, there is one more kind of trap that's a little more complicated. that I want to show you, and it's got my favorite name. It's a kind of trap called a pooter. Not like farts or anything like that. A pooter, Pooter, is a little more complicated, but they're really, really useful in the field because you have a lot more control over it. You can pick just the insect that you want to capture, and you do it without harming it at all. What you need is you need a jar with a lid, you need some straws, and you need a couple of other things. So basically, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our jar and our lid, and we're going to punch 2 holes into the lid of the jar. Now those holes have to be big enough for a straw to go inside. Actually, 2 straws. 1 straw is the way in and 1 straw is the way out. So we're going to take this, and I'm just going to put it right onto my jar here, like this. I'm going to take one of my straws, and bendy straws are by far the best. You have the most control over them. And you're going to take that and you're going to put it into one of the holes, just like that. Now that is going to be your sucking straw. That straw is going to suck up the insect. So you've got to be a small one. It's got to be one that's going to fit inside the straw. If you wanted to catch bigger insects, you're going to need a bigger straw, and you're going to need a bigger hole in your lid. But so that's for one end. And then I have another bendy straw, and I'm going to put it the other direction like this, so that what I end up with is a place to suck with my mouth and a place to catch the insects. Now we still have one more problem here. I don't want to accidentally suck up the insects that I'm catching. So what we're going to do is going to open this up, and on the one, only the one that I'm going to use to suck on with my mouth, I'm going to take a little piece of fabric. Now this happens to be from an old jelly bag that I had that got very stained by turmeric, one of the things that I make, one of the pickles that I make. So this is what I'm using, but you could use tights or pantyhose. You could use a few layers of cheesecloth. The idea being, though, that this is going to make sure that the insect that gets sucked in to this straw and goes into the jar doesn't then get sucked back into your mouth. So you can come up with your own way to attach this. An elastic band usually works really well, I find. You can use tape. I think I'm actually going to use a little bit of tape just because it was quick and easy for me to find right away this morning. So we'll take a little bit of tape. We're going to tape that fabric onto the end. Now make sure you don't otherwise cover the end, because the last thing that we want is to not be able to suck through it. So we're just going to put this on. There we go. So now it's safe, and I'm not going to accidentally suck any insects into my mouth. All right. So let's put this back together. So we have the one that's got the fabric on the end. That's the one I'm going to suck from. This long one is going to be the one that I catch the insects with. Now the only other thing that I need to make this perfect is a little bit of Play-Doh or something like that to help seal up these holes around the straws, so that all the sucking I do here ends up here for sucking those insects. So I happen to have just a tiny little piece of plasticine or Play-Doh or something like that, and I'm just going to use this. I'm just going to take a little piece of it. I'm going to roll it into a noodle, and I'm going to place that noodle all the way around my hole and my straw, just like that. And I'll do that for both straws. Now, if you want to get more complicated about this, there's other things you can do to make this stronger or different or better. That's entirely up to you. Use your creativity. This is just a quick model to give you the idea. But pooters like this are really, really useful. Like, you could use a glue gun even if you'd rather, instead of the plasticine. This is just something that's quick and easy. So now what I have is a perfect little insect trap. I'm going to suck in here, and it's going to suck in an insect there. Now, again, it's got to be a small one, but maybe we can find an ant or something like that. So let's go back. I'm just going to see if the ant is still on my piece of paper. Oh, no, it decided I've had enough of this. I'm leaving. Okay. Well, I'm going to take this and take the dirt with the little baby in it and put it back in the ground. Okay, so let's try our pooter out. Let's see what we can do. Okay. So let's go back to our garden bed. Let's see here. See if we can find another one of those ants. Let's take a good close look. Well, I see a fly, but that fly is going to move too fast for us. Where, oh where? Can we see? Maybe if I turn over a rock. Oh, drop the phone. Let's see, let's turn over a few of these rocks. Oh, look what I found. I found a big earthworm, and I found some ants. Some ants and their trail, it looks like. Oh, man, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a ton of ants right there. Let's see if I can catch one with my pooter. Okay, let's get in nice and close. Okay. Did I catch it? Did I catch it? I did! Ha ha! I got an ant in there. Let's open this up carefully. There we go. In fact, I got a couple of them. Oh, hello. Let's see. Let's dump it right out. There they are. My pooter worked perfectly. And all it took was a jar, a couple of straws, some plasticine, some tape, and a little piece of some kind of mesh or fabric. And that gave me a very good little pooter. So, that is 3 different easy insect traps that you can try. If you want to do a little exploring in your backyard, or if all you have is a deck, you'd be surprised what you might find there too. But give it a shot. Maybe try the umbrella idea. Maybe try the fall trap, the buried jar with a covering. Just remember, when you're covering it in the garden, you want to have what's above it not quite all the way down, so there's a little room for insects to go exploring and fall in. And then last but not least, try a pooter. They're pretty amazing. So, good luck with your explorations. If you find something interesting, I would love to see it in the comments. Please share a picture or two. I'm always getting these little notes and things like that about people's adventures and the things that they're trying because of these videos, and it really makes a big difference for me. So thank you for that. Also, if this is the first one that you've watched, we're coming to you from the Gristmill Gardens, which is a heritage site in the interior of BC, about half an hour west of the town of Osoyoos in a little place called Karamias. And at this point, we have no funding. So if you can, consider going on our website, clicking on the support button, and buying yourself a season's pass to our site. I know that you might not be able to visit us, and if so, I understand. It is a great way, though, to support us anyhow and send a little money our way. We're not going to set up a Patreon or anything like that. So if you see fit to support us, please consider doing so. Anyways, thank you so much for watching today. Good luck going on your own little insect safari, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye for now.